Welcome to the forecast for the full moon on Sunday, the 9th of October, 2022, which will be in the sign of Aries. 16 degrees of Aries to be precise. Here is the moon in the sign of Aries, conjunct Chiron, which we'll talk about now. And here is the sun at 16 of Libra, directly opposite and conjunct Venus. This also is a full moon that initiates eclipse season. It's not in itself an eclipse, and we've got the next two big lunations will be eclipses, the second of which, the next full moon after this one, will be quite an intense one. But for the most part, this is not a bad full moon. It's one where we really maybe want to take that time to take stock, which I think we should be doing every full moon in any case, so that the next one is more manageable. Because remember that each cycle builds on the next cycle. So we're currently in Libra season, which means the sun and moon were together 2 weeks ago in the sky, 2 weeks from this point of full moon, in the sky, and they were having their moment, initiating the lunar cycle of Libra. Now the moon has managed to travel halfway around the zodiac from where she was in Libra to now being opposite the sun rather than right next to him, which is called conjunct, and she's in the sign of Aries. She also happens to be right here with Chiron, and Chiron's like the little wounded healer energy. So the moon being very emotional, she's triggering for us at the moment some old woundings. And in Aries, that wounding comes around where we want to be independent, where we tend to be the warrior, the fighting warrior, not the worrywart warrior, and how we maybe need to reclaim certain independence. But are we seeking independence as a fear to let people in? Because Libra, the opposite sign where the sun is and Venus is, that is a relational sign. So Libra is all about us, our relationships, how we connect. Aries is me, myself, my needs. So if there's a wounding, and we all have these woundings, if there's a wounding about, if I let somebody in, I'm going to get hurt, so I'm just going fiercely independent, then that's where we need to tackle that. Because being independent in itself is not a problem. Being codependent becomes a problem. That's also quite a Libran space. But what we want to get is the balance between excessively independent or codependent, and find this interdependence when we're dealing with the Aries Libra axis. And you can see that we have got Venus down here with the sun, and they're very, very close. Here's where you can see the degrees. So the sun and moon are both at 16 degrees of opposing signs, Libra and Aries, and Venus is at 13 degrees. So she's just 3 degrees off the sun. And this is really a powerful energy because Venus is super happy in Libra. She rules Libra. So basically she's in her house and she's invited the sun to stay. And the two of them are having a good talk about how important love is, and because Libra loves love and Venus loves love and beauty and art and dance and all those beautiful creative things. So the two of them are having a good conversation about that, and maybe the moon's feeling a little bit left out. She's in Mars's sign of Aries, and she's on the other side of the pond, and she can't be in on this conversation about love. So she's kind of getting a little bit heart sore and thinking, well, what will I fight for? What love will I fight for? Because remember that Aries is the warrior kind of energy. And in the meantime, we do have Mars in just a few weeks from this point, preparing to make his retrograde. And here he is in Gemini. So he's ruling this moon, and he's kind of in two minds right now. Is it better that I give Sun and Venus some space, or is it better that I get in on the conversation, even if it is from a distance? So there's this kind of duality happening because Mars is in Gemini. And then we also have Mercury, who has just gone direct in the last few degrees of Virgo before he steps back into Libra, where he will whiz past and join the conversation about love and relationships and what the new paradigm for love and relationships is, as he whizzes past Venus and the sun as well. There's also a grand trine in air, and I'll show you what that means. You can see this big blue triangle here, and it's with Saturn in Aquarius and Sun and Venus and Mars. So they've got a grand trine, and trines are 120-degree angles, and they're really graceful and flowing and fluid and lucky. It's a really big, joyful energy. So that's very positive, and on an air level, because that's in air signs, so it's intellectual. So we may have this real ability to tell a different story and realize where the old story is not working and how we can tweak the whole conversation of the intellect and the stories we tell, the narratives that are important to us. So that's a nice energy. But we also do have enough, and I actually quite like this. I like enough pressure points that we also do the work, because the truth is life is not always going to be easy. And even in times when it's easy, there will be challenge. In times where there's challenge, there's ease. Those things operate simultaneously in our lives. So where we can look for the challenge, there's a challenge for every kind of energy. If you are one of the fixed signs, and that means if you are strongly have planets or points in any of the fixed signs, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, yes, then you're going to get this lovely little square here. That is something we've been talking about a lot. That is Uranus over here in Taurus and the North Node to Saturn in Aquarius. And that is the whole signature of 2021 that we went over and over and over and over again. It was the old versus new. And because both Saturn and Uranus are slow-moving planets, especially Uranus, and because of retrogrades, the energy of these two is really intense. You'll see over here, Saturn and Uranus are both at 18 degrees. If you add the minutes, they're not coming to exactitude, but that's pretty close. For all intents and purposes, we are feeling an echo or an aftershock of the whole 2021 at its strongest. It's kind of been gently and subtly in the background of this year, but this is the point of the year at which we feel it again intensely. So if you are somebody who is one of those fixed signs, you have a lot of planets in those 4 signs that are fixed, which is the slowest to change. You were really pressurized last year. And if that was you, you're going to be feeling that sort of thing coming up again. That's perfectly normal. And we've just got to get comfortable with that discomfort and see, let this be an opportunity to go, well, did I make the changes that square was asking of me? And this is very much in the collective as well. So that's for the fixed signs. For the cardinal signs, we're dealing with the opposition of Sun and Moon. That is your big pressure point. So the fixed have got a square that's going to push us into a new space. The cardinal have got that pull of the Sun and the Moon. And then the mutable signs have got Neptune over here in Pisces to Mars over here in Gemini. That's again another square. So Mars is like really wanting to get things done, but he's in Gemini. So he's kind of like, well, I could do it this way and I could do it that way. And Jupiter in Pisces is very happy in Pisces, but he's kind of dreamy and he has no boundaries. He's just going with the flow. And he's sometimes has a tendency to get a little carried away. He can lose himself in something. He has this ability to become a little bit addictive because he just gets lost in whatever it is that he's doing. But Pisces too is a dual sign, just like Gemini. It's the 2 fish swimming in different directions. Gemini are the twins having different opinions. And so we might find that there is a little bit of discomfort between the dream, the ideal, the emotions in Pisces Neptune, and the way we get things done, the way we think, the way we act in Gemini. And don't worry too much about the house system here, because I've obviously drawn it for where I live, but just rather looking at where the planets are. And yeah, just starting to tune into, of all of those sort of themes, which ones are feeling the strongest. So I am going to do shadow questions for those who are subscribed to my mailing list. I'll be sending that out shortly. But if you're not on my mailing list, jump on over to my website and subscribe. But for those of you who aren't on my mailing list and do want to feel into where these questions take you, where these pressure points take you, what stood out for you of that conversation? When there was something that just like you could feel it in your body, that's the space to explore. That's the archetypal energy that you want to look at. And chances are that's what's going to trigger you the most. Of course, if you know your own chart and you have planets or points at any of these, if you have anything at 16 degrees, especially of the cardinal signs, this is going to be even stronger for you because that's where the full moon is happening. If you're in the fixed signs and you have anything at 16, 18 degrees, and you've got a little leeway between these degrees, then you're going to be feeling that square even more intensely between Uranus and Saturn. If you are a more mutable person and you've got anything in the sort of like 20, 22, where's Neptune right now? 23. So Mars is 22, Neptune's 23 degrees. So that sort of area of the mutable signs, you're going to feel that even more strongly. So slowly but surely, understanding where by sign your planets are, and when you get more into the process, you can understand the degrees, and then it's kind of just getting a little bit more discerning and being able to know which ones are going to trigger you on a bigger, more detailed, intricate way. And then not panicking, but using that energy to heal, to transform, to give yourself a break rather than beating up on yourself. The energy of Libra can be quite judgmental of self and of other. So really watch your self-talk, that you're not being really hard on yourself and judgmental, and rather open up to the understanding that in order to achieve balance, which is that center, we need to be able to sway from side to side, and we need to be able to feel this energy and that energy and integrate them in the center. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you so much for your time and energy, and please do like, share, and subscribe. Let me just stop that screen share. And yes, follow me on any of my platforms, and I am also available for personal readings.